الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So we stopped last week. In Kitab al-Jami' from Bulugh al-Maram, the book of manners, the chapter of Zuhud wal-Wara', the hadith of Nu'man bin Bashir radiyallahu anhuma, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the halal is clear and the haram is clear, and then between the halal and the haram is a section that is not clear to most people. بينهما أمور مشتبهات, issues that are not clear to a lot of people, that they don't know if the issue is halal or haram, if that thing is halal or haram. And the point of the hadith was that to stay away from those things that aren't clear is from wara', a person protecting their deen, that they protect their deen, their religion, by staying away from the issues that a person is not sure, is it permissible or impermissible? Is it halal, is it haram? A person doesn't know. So in order to protect their deen, they stay away from it out of safety. It doesn't mean that that thing is haram. It doesn't mean that. But the person doesn't know. So therefore, in order to protect their religion and to guard themselves, they stay away from it. And this is wara'. So we stopped where the Prophet ﷺ said, فَمَنِ اتَّقَى الشُّبَهَاتِ فَقَدْ اسْتَبْرَأَ لِدِينِهِ وَإِرْضِهِ, that whoever stayed away from that third section, the section that's not clear, if it's halal or haram, then that person has protected their deen, they protect their religion, and they protect their honor, their name. We say their image. Now you say you get a bad name. A person staying away from those things protect their name from being scarred, and they protect their religion, just in case the thing is haram. If it is haram, then they fall into something, disobedience to Allah Jalla wa'ala. So then, after that, the Prophet ﷺ, he continued, and he said, وَمَنْ وَقَعَ فِي الشُّبَهَاتِ مَنْ وَقَعَ فِي الشُّبُهَاتِ وَمَنْ وَقَعَ فِي الشُّبُهَاتِ, that whoever does go into those issues that's not clear to him, right? They're not clear if it's halal or haram. Whoever does go into that issues, وَمَنْ وَقَعَ فِي الشُّبُهَاتِ. Shaykh Salih Fawzan says, أَخَذَ بِالْأَمْرِ الْمُشْتَبِهَ الَّذِي مَا يَدْرِي هَلْ هُوَ مِنَ الْحَلَالِ وَحَرَامِ. They go into those things, they're not sure if it's halal or haram. So whoever does do that, they go into those issues and deal with and they act on those issues where they're not clear if it's permissible Islamically or not. So a person, they say, I'm gonna just do it. I don't know if it's haram or not. I don't know if it's permissible or not. So I'm gonna just go for it. The Prophet ﷺ said, and remember, it doesn't mean that it is haram, but this comes under the chapter of wara', which is to stay away from something seeking Allah's reward, and it doesn't necessitate that it's always impermissible. He said, whoever does go to those issues, وَمَنْ وَقَعَ فِي الشُّبَهَاتِ فَقَدْ وَقَعَ فِي الْحَرَامِ, then that person has fell into the haram. Literally it says that, literally. That whoever goes into those issues, the gray area, the third section, where they don't know if it's halal or haram. The Prophet ﷺ said, وَمَنْ وَقَعَ فِي الشُّبُهَاتِ وَقَعَ فِي الْحَرَامِ. Those gray areas, they fall into the haram, right? Now how do they fall into the haram? If it doesn't necessitate that the thing is haram, right? So it says in the Sharh, يعني فيه تقدير الكلمة, that was understood by the sentence because the third section that the person doesn't know is the gray area. Gray doesn't mean haram, and gray doesn't mean halal to that person. It means they don't know. So the best thing if they don't know, and the point of the hadith is the best thing if they don't know is to stay away from it. But if they do go into that area, the Prophet ﷺ said, وَقَعَ فِي الْحَرَامِ, يعني Oshaka. They're on the verge of entering into something that is impermissible. They're walking the border, they're treading the line. So they didn't do something haram. Ma waqa fil haram. They didn't really do something haram, but they're treading that path that could lead them to the haram. Lakin shaka an yaqa fil haram. They're treading the path that could lead them to the haram. And this is the sharh of Sheikh Salih Al-Fawzan. Then he said, ثم ضرب صلى الله عليه وسلم مثلا لذلك محسوسا يعرفه الناس. And then after that statement, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave an example, a relatable example, so that the people can understand. The people meaning immediately they're the Sahaba and for the Ummah. So, and this shows the importance of being able to, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave them an example that was relatable to the people listening. That you got to know who you're talking to, right? So you got to know your audience. You got to be able to make stuff relatable to people and clear black and white so that people don't get up and leave a place and it's really not clear what we're talking about, as it's done a lot of times, right? That you need to be able to specify and give a person an example, a real life example, to bring it, as we say, bring it all the way home. To bring it all the way home, sometimes people need an example, everyday examples from everyday life to make it simple. Simple and plain like this. If you go do this, then this is the case. Right? We just leave stuff general all the time. Right? You leave people walking on eggshells. Because people don't really know. They left from their right. They don't really know how to apply the hadith. So the Prophet ﷺ gave them an example of a person who goes to the gray area, and how would that lead them to the haram? How would that lead them to the haram? And this is, as he says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, كَالرَّاعِ يَرْعَى حَوْلَ الْحِمَى يُوشِكُ أَنْ يَقْعَ فِيهِ. Like the one who is grazing the cattle. We might say we don't have cattle graze, we don't graze, we don't raise animals. But the one who is raising animals and they walk near a certain open area, let's just say where animals eat from the grass. And if you take that animal near that grass, more than likely that animal is going to wander off and eat from that grass. Right? More than likely. If it's a nice green field of grass and that's what the animal usually eats from, that's his type of food. Whatever the animal is, that's the type of food that they enjoy. That's the type of food that they're used to. You take the animal near that area, more than likely the animal is going to eat from that area. So to keep away from it is safer. And this is what is called, the Prophet ﷺ said, a sanctuary. A sanctuary. As he says, أَلَا وَإِنَّ لِكُلِّ مَلِكٍ حِمًا. That every king has an area that is off limits to the public. Tayyib. Every king has as it's translated, a sanctuary. Right? A sanctuary. A place where the public, the king, has places where the public can't enter. Right? Next to the Haram in Mecca, there's a big palace. Right next to the Kaaba, outside of the masjid, where it's for the king, whoever the king is at that time, with armed guards out front. Right? It's armed guards out front of the, at the entrance, where nobody can come in that place unless you have permission to enter. Every king has certain areas where the public, they're not allowed to enter. Nobody can come in here except with the permission of that king. So the Prophet ﷺ said, every king has a sanctuary, that place where the people can't enter. أَلَا وَإِنَّ حِمَ اللَّهِ مَحَارِمُهُ. And Allah has also things that people can't go near. Allah has set boundaries and limits that people we're not allowed to transgress. وَاللَّهُ تَعَالَى لَهُ حِمَ سُبْحَانَهُ فَمَا هُوَ حِمَ اللَّهِ. What are those areas that Allah made forbidden for us to go towards? مَحَارِمُهُ التي حرمها على عباده. Those things that Allah made haram for us are considered the sanctuary. It's not permissible for us to go past this point when it comes to the religion. As the Prophet ﷺ said, every king has that area that people can't enter. ألا وإن حم الله محارمه. And Allah has that same type of area. Those things that He made haram, we cannot go into those areas, as the Prophet ﷺ said. فالحرام هذا حم الله وحدود الله كذلك. And the limits that Allah set, that those things that are impermissible, and the limits that Allah set are considered the sanctuary that we're not allowed to enter. If we do enter those haram actions, then we've entered in something that is haram, which means we are deserving of Allah's punishment if He doesn't forgive us. We put ourselves in a situation where we could be punished Yawm al-Qiyamah by going past or entering that sanctuary, entering into those things that Allah made forbidden. As Allah said, قال تعالى تلك حدود الله فلا تقربوها. These are the limits set by Allah. Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat 187. So don't go near those limits that have been set by Allah. Don't go near the haram. Don't go near the haram. أي محارمه. لا تقرب محارم الله عز وجل لألا تقع فيه. Why not to go near the haram? Don't even go close to it, let alone actually commit the action itself. Don't go close to the haram. Why not? So that a person doesn't eventually fall into it. Like we say, you playing with fire, right? So you playing with fire with that one. That's a little bit too, that's a little too close. Or we say that's too close to home. And you mess with that's too close to home. That if you go near those things, you put yourself in a situation where you could potentially fall into it. So to stay away from all of them, don't even go near those things to protect, so that a person protects himself from falling into the haram. فابتعد عن الحرام وذلك بترك المشتبهة. So he says, stay away from the haram. And how do you do that? By staying away from something that's doubtful. Because if you don't know, the best thing to do is to stay away from it. He says, لأنك إذا تساهلت في الشبهات تساهلت في الحرام. If you're lazy, if we come negligent, and we get the attitude everything goes, right, with the things that are gray, it's going to lead us to everything goes. Lead you down the path to do something that is impermissible. And the shara, وَالشَّرْعُ جَاءَ بِسَدِّ الذَّرَائِعِ. And this is important, a qaida, a principle, that the deen came to cut off the pathways to evil. Sadd al-dhara'i. And this comes up a lot. This comes up a lot in the books of fiqh. That you close off the pathway totally so you don't have to even worry about going down that path. Right? If a person comes from whatever type of background it is, drugs, right? Used to sell drugs. You got to remove yourself from that atmosphere. You can't say I stopped selling drugs if you're still hanging out in the corner with the drug dealers. You put yourself in a position to go back to what you used to do. It's not rocket science. You stay away from those things that could potentially put you back in the same position. Right? Or whatever the act may be that we may have left off before Allah guided us, that we don't go back anywhere near those things. Some people say you flirting with death, or you treading the line, whatever it is, you put yourself in a predicament, in a situation where it's too close, right? You're too close, you put yourself in a situation. You want to set the dhara, stay totally away from it. That's the best thing for me right now, right? Well, the next person might be able to go do that, because we all at different levels. So the fact that I can't go to a certain place doesn't mean that the next person can't. They may be a little stronger than me at that point, where they're able to go and deal with the situation, whatever it is, right? But a person has to know, everybody has to know they self, and to be able to cut off the pathway to evil. so that we don't put ourselves in a predicament where we disobey Allah Jalla wa Ala. He says, فَاتْرُكْ مَا فِيهِ شَكْ إِلَى مَا لَا شَكَّ فِيهِ. So we should leave off those things that have some type of doubt in them. We're not sure, it's better to leave it off and go with something that you're certain about, which is another hadith that comes in Arba'in an-Nawawi. Excuse me. So after that, the Prophet ﷺ said that, or he started to describe, after he said there's 3 areas, stay away from those 3 areas, he starts to describe, and this is important. He says, أَلَا وَإِنَّ فِي الْجَسَدِ مُضْغَةً إِذَا صَلَحَتْ صَلَحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ وَإِذَا فَسَدَتْ فَسَدَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ أَلَا وَهِيَ الْقَلْبُ. This hadith is in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. He started to describe, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the importance of purifying the heart. And this is another problem we have a problem, it's another issue we got a problem with. We think if we say all the right words, we put on all the right clothes, that in itself is a stamp of approval for what we do, which is a khata, is a mistake. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, ثُمَّ بَيَّنَ sallallahu alayhi wa sallam الْأَمْرُ الَّذِي يَضْبِطُ الْإِنسَانِ وَهُوَ الْقَلْبُ. He started to describe the thing that keeps a person balanced. What keeps a person on the right path? وَهُوَ الْقَلْبُ, and it's the heart. The heart, making sure that our hearts are purified. صَلَاحُ الْقَلْبِ أَوْ فَسَادُهُ. Right? Purifying our hearts, or we corrupt our own hearts, possibly. Either we purify our hearts or we corrupt our own hearts. فَإِذَا فَسَدَ الْقَلْبُ وَقَعَ الْإِنسَانِ فِي مَعَاصِيِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. If the heart is corrupt and evil, then it leads a person to disobeying Allah Jalla wa Ala. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in this hadith, and this is the hadith itself, this is not a sharh. He says, وَأَنَّ فِي الْجَسَدِ مُضْغَةً إِذَا صَلَحَتْ صَلَحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. He said that it's a small piece of flesh in the body. We have this small piece of flesh in the body. إِذَا صَلَحَتْ صَلَحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. If that piece of flesh is correct and upright and righteous, the rest of the body is going to be upright. It's going to show in a person's actions. What's in the heart is shown in a person's actions. The way they carry themselves, the way they behave, their obedience to Allah, or their disobedience. وَإِذَا فَسَدَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. And if the heart is corrupt and evil, if the heart is not upright, then the rest of the body is not going to be upright. It's going to be clear it's going to be clear in a person's actions, what's in their heart. Doesn't mean we run around and we pointing at people, oh, you got an evil heart because they're openly sinning. But that's a sign that the person who is sinning and disobeying Allah, that the heart, there's something in the heart that is evil. How do we know this? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, if the heart is right, then it's going to show in the body parts. It's going to show in our actions. So the heart has a serious position in the religion as far as correcting it. وَإِذَا صَلَحَ الْقَلْبُ فَإِنَّ الْإِنسَانِ يَتَجَنَّبُ مَحَارِمَ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. If the heart is correct, upright, remembering Allah, making dhikr of Allah, then a person is going to stay away from the haram. If the heart is right, it's going to keep a person reminded to stay away from the things that have been made impermissible. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ said, أَلَا وَإِنَّ فِي الْجَسَدِ مُضْغَةً. الْمُضْغَةِ قِطْعَةَ اللَّحْمِ قِطْعَةَ الصَّغِيرَةِ هِيَ الْقَلْبِ. He used the word mudgha. And a mudgha is a small, قِطْعَةَ الصَّغِيرَةِ. He described it. A small piece of flesh. It's small. If you look at the whole body, right? The heart is small compared to other portions of the body. If that small piece of flesh, it pretty much controls the rest of the body. وَهُوَ مَلِكُ الْبَدَنِ. This small piece of flesh is pretty much in control of the rest of the body. As what's apparent, the actions are going to be based on what's in the heart. And he says, وَبَقِيَةُ الْبَدَنِ وَأَعْضَاء خَدَمٌ لَهَا وَرَعِيَّةٌ لَهَا. All the rest of the body parts are basically under the control of the heart. So if the heart is righteous and upright and making dhikr of Allah, a person is making dhikr of Allah, and the body parts are going to fall in line. They're going to be praying. They're going to be staying away from the haram. It's going to push them to do the obedience of Allah in the rest of the body. وَإِذَا فَسَدَ الْقَلْبُ فسد الجسم وفسدت رعيته. And if the heart is not right, then the rest of the body is not right. Meaning, if the heart is evil, a person is upon disobedience, it's going to lead a person to the haram. It's going to lead a person to disobedience. And this is based on the statement of the Prophet ﷺ. He said it's a small piece of flesh. That small piece of flesh is correct and upright, then the rest of the body is going to be upright. And if that small piece of flesh is evil, or if it's not upright, then the rest of the body won't be upright. Meaning the actions, a person's actions. So this hadith, فَهَذَا الْحَدِيث فِيهِ الْعِنَايَةُ بِالْقَلْبِ. This shows that we have to take serious and give importance to correcting our hearts. Not that we look good, mashallah. Yani, we got the image down. We look like Muslims. We know the terms to use. But we have to correct the hearts. Islam is supposed to change us. It's supposed to change us personally, individuals. It's supposed to change us as a person. It's supposed to change us and make us better. It's supposed to make us better if we're implementing the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ and the guidance found in the Quran. Islam is supposed to change us. And many narrations, books and books written on how the Salaf was serious about their heart and the things they used to do to protect their heart and the things they used to do to protect their intention and make sure they were being sincere. There's many narrations, many books and books written on their ikhlas and guarding the heart and al-inay bil-qalb, and how they were serious about making sure that they were doing everything for Allah, making sure they were staying away from sins. And this is the guidance left by the Prophet ﷺ. This is an encouragement, this hadith, to guard our hearts from evil. To guard our hearts from evil and to even cut off the things that lead to evil. Whatever's going to lead us to fall back into some haram that we may have been into, then we have to cut the road off totally. Which means, bottom line, some people might not like that. But you got to know yourself. Some people might say that's extreme, akhi. You don't have to do all that. It's extreme to you because it's not your fitna. It's not your problem. It's my problem. It's my fitna. Therefore, in order for me to stay away from that haram, I have to take these measures for me to stay away from it. He might not have that problem. Or the next woman might not have that problem. Right? They may have another issue that they have to stay away from. And they deal with it the way they deal with it until you build yourself up enough, and Allah gives you the strength to be able to deal with it differently. Right? Just like when people are on a diet, right? They want to lose weight. You look at some people and you might think they're going to extremes with it. Right? You say, that's like out of control with that. That's a little too much. But they might look at it like, well, listen, I know me. If I don't cut this off all the way right here, it's going to be a problem. I'm not going to be able to do it. We're talking about eating cakes and crackers and all that kind of mess. Right? We talking about juices and stuff. We go to, sometimes, we look at the next person and that's a little out there. You got to do all that. But the person doing it, they might look at it and say, listen, if I don't take this position, if I don't go this hard, I can't stay away from it. Right? So when it comes to sins and stuff like that, there are many narrations that the ulama of the past and the Muslims, they were serious about guarding the heart and sincerity. So he said this hadith shows the importance of giving importance to the heart, correcting our hearts. Wal qalbu is corrected. He says the heart is corrected with ta'at wal istiqama. That the heart is corrected. How do we correct our hearts? With obedience and being upright. And how do we know what obedience is? Obedience to Allah. How do we know this, if we're being obedient to Allah or not? Does anybody know? How do I know if I'm being upright, if I'm being obedient to Allah, or if I'm not being obedient to Allah? Who determines what obedience is? Quran and the Sunnah. The Quran and the Sunnah determine what is obedience and what's not obedience. What's upright, what's not upright. What I should do and what I shouldn't be doing. How I should talk to people, how I shouldn't talk to people. How do I talk to my wife? How can I talk to my wife? It's all based on revelation. The Quran and the Sunnah is our guidance. So with obedience and istiqamah, being upright, how do I know if I'm being upright? if I'm in line with the Quran and the Sunnah. If my actions and my beliefs and the way I pray and the way I deal with people is in line with the Quran and the Sunnah, inshallah, not being arrogant about it, but if I'm trying to live my life based on the revelation, the guidance, this is ta'ah, this is uprightness, as we do what Allah commanded us to do, and what the Prophet ﷺ commanded us to do. That's how we know if we're doing obedience or not, is that we follow the guidance found in the Quran and the Sunnah. He said, the heart is corrupted. The heart is corrupted bil ma'asi wa shahwat, with sins. Sins destroy the heart. And the desires, following your own desires, is something that corrupts the heart. It corrupts the heart, and a corrupt heart leads to more disobedience. Ask Allah to protect us all from disobedience. He says, فَعَلَى الْإِنسَانِ أَنْ يَسْعَى فِي إِصْلَاحِ قَلْبِهِ بِطَاعَةِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. So we have to be people who strive to correct our hearts by increasing in our worship. We can't expect for our iman, our faith, to increase if we don't put ourselves in the places that help increase your iman. Meaning, if we're not surrounding ourselves with good people in good places where the worship of Allah is going on, where people are being obedient, if we keep surrounding ourselves with people who are being disobedient, how is it going to affect our faith and our deen? Eventually it gets weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker as iman increases and decreases. So he said that many, or the Muslims should be the people who give importance to the heart. And this is important. He says, قد يكون الإنسان سليم القلب من ناحية الصحة ولكنه فاسد القلب من ناحية الدين. A person might have physically, they might have a strong heart, the physical. Like they might be a strong person with good cardio and all that. Right? They can run miles or ride bikes for miles or work out for hours. Right? So the heart, they may have a strong heart physically. It says, لكنه فاسد القلب من ناحية الدين. But when it comes to the deen, it's weak. His heart is weak and it's corrupt. Right? His heart is weak, it's corrupt when it comes to the religion. When it comes to physical, they may have a strong heart, they're in shape. But when it comes to the deen, that their heart is weak. Or it could be the opposite. A person could be weak, their heart is not strong physically. Maybe they had some surgeries and stuff like that, but their deen is strong. Their deen is strong, their heart is strong when it comes to the religion. And this is important, that we give inayah, we give importance to the heart, that we give some importance to the heart. And talking about the heart and correcting the heart is not what a lot of brothers think. That's not Sufi stuff. That's not stuff that only the Sufis do, the ones who float around and they're real mystical, right? They may go to extremes, but correcting the heart is from the religion, it's from the deen. Giving importance to the heart, making sure our hearts are in line with the Quran and the Sunnah, and how we supposed to behave, and how our heart's supposed to be, that's from the religion.
If your heart is corrupt, if the person's heart is corrupt, could they switch it around and become upright?
Definitely.
Just follow the Quran and the Sunnah.
Hey, Tawbah, that's what repentance is for. That's what Tawbah is for. That's what Tawbah is for. Repenting. And then trying to change. Not just saying astaghfirullah and then going back to whatever a person was doing. Right? Making tawbah, asking Allah's forgiveness, making a serious determination. I'm not doing that anymore. Cutting the roads off, whatever you got to go through. If I call this person, nothing, for example. If I call this person, they probably going to come, guys, pick me up. I'm not even calling them no more. Matter of fact, and this might be extreme, I'm deleting his number. I'm not even answering any more of his calls. I see him when I see him. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Next person might think it's crazy. Listen, it's my heart that I got to guard. Right? Everybody might not have to do that. I'm just giving an example. You might have to literally erase a person's number from your phone. You might have to. Tayyib. This is a famous story of Fudayl ibn Iyad. that says he was one of the famous Imams of the Sunnah, famous for later in the Yad. He said he used to be a highway robber. Yeah, he would wait in the roads for people to come down the street, cut the road off and rob them. For later. Rahimahullah. He said when he heard the ayah from Surah Al-Hadid, has not the time come for the hearts to fear Allah. Surah Al-Hadid. He said when he heard this ayah, that he stopped the action he was doing. He said, yes, ya Rabb, and he made tawbah, and he repented, and he became from the famous Imams of the Sunnah. Tawbah. Fulayl ibn Iyad, rahimahullah. Tayyib. So the heart with the people of the Sunnah, as this hadith is a statement of the Prophet ﷺ, the heart has some serious importance. Now, he brings a couple suggestions, we'll say, or benefits, or how to correct, or how to correct the heart. He says, وَأَعْظَمُ مَا يُصْلَحُ الْقَلْبِ الدُّعَاء. Firstly, by making dua, seeking Allah's help, because it's not easy. Leaving off a sin sometimes is not easy. Especially if a person has been doing this thing for years. Every day for years. A person turns around and tells you, astaghfirullah, you can't, that's haram, sis. Huh? You can't do that. It's haram. Right? It's impermissible. A Muslim can't do that. A person been doing this for the past 15, 20 years. Every day, Yomi, that's what they do. It was normal to them. They became Muslim, they didn't know. It's not that easy. So how does a person leave it off? The dua. They got to make dua, number one. You got to stand up and ask Allah to make it easy. Beg your Lord to remove that desire from you to even want to do that. It says a dua. And for this reason, the Prophet ﷺ, لهذا كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يكثر من دعائه من قول اللهم يا مقلب القلوب والأبصار ثبت قلبي على دينك. The statement that Aisha radiallahu anha, she said that the Prophet ﷺ used to make a lot. Oh my Lord, the changer of the hearts, keep my heart firm on your religion. It's the statement that the Prophet ﷺ used to make. Keep my heart firm on the deen. So we have to be people who make dua. So Aisha radiallahu anha, she asked the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أتخاف يا رسول الله يعني أتخاف من الزيغ وأنت رسول الله. She said, you fear that your heart will be corrupted, ya Prophet, ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Do you fear you will go astray? That your heart will lean towards disobeying Allah Jalla wa ala? قال يا عائشة. She said, oh Aisha, what protects me? What will protect me from that? وقلوب العباد بين إصبعين من أصابع الرحمن. What protects me from that when the hearts of the slaves are between two fingers of Allah Jalla wa ala? A person could turn, could be upright today and be upon disobedience tomorrow. That's why it's mustahil. It's mustahil, it's impossible that we should be arrogant. Because we don't know what our end is going to be. And the Salaf didn't live like that. That's not what the Prophet ﷺ told us, and that's not how the Salaf lived. That sins were just, don't judge me, I'm doing me, YOLO and all that kind of mess. That's not from our religion. That's not from us. That they were serious. We don't know what our end is going to be, so that we continuously make dua that Allah keep us firm and keep our feet firm on the religion. That a person could be upright one day and they could be upon disobedience the next day. And then he said, وَإِبْرَاهِيمَ الْخَلِيلَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ يَقُولُ وَجَنُوبَنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ. That Ibrahim alayhi salam, the Prophet Ibrahim, he made a dua in the Quran in Surah Ibrahim, the Prophet. He made a dua, oh Allah, keep me and my sons and my offspring away from worshiping idols. Ibrahim, the Prophet, made dua that Allah protect him and his offspring from worshiping idols, from shirk. Ibrahim. So this shows that we have to be serious about guarding our hearts. Tayyib. Then he says, says after that, another thing. من أسباب صلاح القلب القلوب صلاح القلوب الابتعاد عن أكل الحرام. Staying away from eating the haram. And this could mean a couple different things. Definitely eating what's not been made halal, right? But also, this word is used, akl al-haram is also used when a person takes money that's not theirs, right? They call it akl al-haram. When a person takes money that's not theirs, and then they use it ultimately to feed themselves or something like that. That's also considered akl al-haram. That this, to stay away from akl al-haram is a reason for correcting the heart. He says, وَإِذَا أَكَلَ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ فَإِنَّ هَذَا سَبَبٌ لِصَلَاحِ قَلْبِهِ. But if a person, they nourish themselves on the halal, what is permissible, he said this is something that will help to correct the person's heart. قَالَ تَعَالَى يَا أَيُّهَا الرُّسُلُ كُلُوا مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَاعْمَلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ إِنِّي بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ عَلِيمٌ. Allah said in Surah Al-Mu'minun, ayah number 51, Allah said, يَا أَيُّهَا الرُّسُلُ, talking to the messengers, and He commanded them with two things. He commanded the messengers with two things in this ayah. Kulu min at-tayyibat, eat from the tayyibat. Eat from the tayyibat. From the things, as it says in the tafsir, the halal things. Eat what is halal. Which, wallahu alam, could enter with also money, as the same word is used for money that is haram. Money that's been stolen, right? Something that's been stolen is called eating from the haram. So Allah said, eat from the halal, wa'amal as-salihah, and do righteous deeds, be upright, obey Allah. Then Allah said, indeed, I am all-knowing of what you do, of your actions. So Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah, he said that this ayat shows that if a person eats from the halal, that it leads them to do more obedience. Allah mentioned, eat from the halal and do righteous actions. So he said this ayat points to if a person eats from the halal and their earnings are halal, that it will lead them to do more obedience to Allah Jalla wa Ala. Tayyib. He says also, al-ghafla an dhikrillah sababun li fasad al-qalb. That being negligent and not being in the dhikr, not remembering Allah Jalla wa Ala, is also a reason for the heart to be corrupted. وَالْإِكْثَارُ مِنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ سَبَبٌ لِحَيَاةِ الْقَلْبِ. And constantly making dhikr of Allah is a reason of bringing life to a person's heart. And this is the importance of filling our time with speech that is beneficial speech. Beneficial speech. That things that take us away from the dhikr, that take us away from remembering Allah, eventually poisons and corrupts the heart. And in the dhikr of Allah gives life to the heart. The Quran gives life to the heart. If we only knew, the Quran gives life to the heart. قال تعالى الذين آمنوا وتطمئن قلوبهم بذكر الله ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب. In Surah Al-Ra'd, ayat 28, Allah said, those who believe and that their hearts are relaxed with the dhikr of Allah, the remembrance of Allah. That their hearts are calm when they hear the dhikr of Allah. In the tafsir, the ayah says, some of the tafsir says the Quran. When a person hears the Quran, and it puts their heart at ease. And that's another important point of learning Arabic. Of learning the Arabic, that we can understand how the original wording of the revelation, and this can't be said enough, but Allah said, those who believe and their hearts are at ease when they hear the dhikr of Allah, أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ. With the dhikr of Allah, that the hearts find tranquility and ease. With the dhikr of Allah Jalla wa Ala. So he says the heart, يَمْرَضْ وَيَمُوتُ. The heart could be sick to the point that it dies. But if the person brings the cure for the heart with the dhikr and obedience, either one or two things, he says, either a person is going to correct their heart or they're going to leave it the way it is. It's possible to correct the heart with tawbah, repentance, and uprightness and obedience. وَإِذَا تَرَكَهُ تَزَايَدَ الْمَرْض حَتَّى يَمُوتُ. But if a person doesn't correct their heart with obedience and repentance and tawbah and being upright, if a person just leaves it and leaves their heart, doesn't give any attention to the heart increases in evil until the heart dies. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Till the heart dies, or till the heart increases in the sickness, as there's sicknesses of the heart, as Allah says in Surah Al-Baqarah, فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. In their hearts is a sickness. Sometimes the hearts are sick, and that sickness can increase. It's possible to increase, and it can decrease based on the actions of a person. So he says we have to give importance to the heart. And this is pretty much the end of this hadith. And there, we have a few minutes left, we'll start another hadith, which is short, for the sake of benefit. عن قطبة ابن مالك رضي الله عنه قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول اللهم جنبني منكرات الأخلاق والأعمال والأهواء والأدواء. أخرجه الترمذي وصححه الحاكم واللفظ له. That the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith, he made dua. And this shows the importance. If the Prophet ﷺ made dua for these things, then, and we're from Ahl Sunnah, and we follow the Sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ, and this is from the Sunnah, that we ask Allah's protection from these things. So, this is a dua from the Messenger ﷺ. قال اللهم جنبني يعني باعدني. He said, oh Allah, باعدني, keep me far away from these four things. This is the Messenger Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam making the dua. Oh Allah, keep me away from these four things. These four things. The first thing, he says, munkarat al-akhlaq. Evil manners, bad behavior. Keep me away from bad behavior. Munkarat al-akhlaq, that's vast. That's not like one that's very vast. It's general. So Shaykh Fawzan Hafidhullah, he says that includes munkarat al-aqwal. That includes the way we speak. Wallahu musta'an. The way we speak. Kasab wa shatam, insulting people, talking about people. That's not a positive trait for a Muslim, that we're known to disrespect people. That's not positive. He says, wal ghiba, backbiting. All of this is under munkarat, evil behavior, bad manners, that the Prophet ﷺ make dua that Allah keep him far away from these things. Whether it's a statement or action. Backbiting, with namima, tail carrying. That we running back and forth between people, telling them this one said in order to make problems. And you know it's going to make a problem. If I tell them this, I know you're going to be mad about this. That a person does that intentionally, going back and forth, trying to cause problems. Like we have a lot of that going on now. Allahumma musta'an. Wa qawl az-zur. Or standing in to be a witness to something you didn't witness. False witness. Being a false witness to something. And that covers a lot of areas. That could be in business. That could be in a contract. That could be in a marriage proposal. Right? You know the sister she got a problem. She really might have a mental problem. She might have some issues. And you know it. And you're just going to stand in and say, no, she's your sister. She alright. Huh? Or from the brother. The brother might have some problems. He might have some serious problems. And you just stand in, nah, I know he's good. You know that it's really an issue, but you don't say anything. Huh? And then we might say, well, I don't want to backbite. Nah, but that's the importance of learning. When is it permissible to say something negative about a person? When is it not permissible to say something negative about a person? When is it permissible to mention, maybe we'll say, a flaw? When can I mention a flaw in this brother's character? When can I mention a flaw that this sister has? When can I do it? Because I know we're not supposed to expose the sins of one another, but is it ever a time when I can mention a person's flaw that we got to know those times? All of these things, he says, comes under munkarat al-aqwal, evil speech, that the Prophet ﷺ made dua that Allah protect him from, to keep him far away from it. He says, Shaykh Fawzan, وَكُلُّ الْكَلَامِ الْمُحَرَّمِ, and anything that is haram to say. Any statement that is impermissible. And those could be statements of shirk, kufr, statements of disbelief, or bid'ah, statements of innovation that could lead to disbelief. Then he says, وَالْكَلَامِ السَّيِّدِ فَهُوَ مِنْ مُحَرَّمَاتِ الْأَقْوَالِ, and any evil speech. He said all of these things are considered to be from muharramat al-aqwa, those things that are impermissible for a Muslim to say, to speak with. Any evil speech. And any evil speech, and y'all correct me let me know if I'm tripping. Huh? Evil speech to us, right? If I'm wrong, just say no, that doesn't count for that. Evil speech, cursing. What you think, Shay? Cursing? They say the F-bomb. I'm just saying, they say the F-bomb, huh? You think that enters that evil? Huh? Some of the non-Muslims, some of the kuffar don't talk like that. That's offensive to some of the kuffar. Some of the people who don't even believe in Allah and His Messenger. Cursing is offensive to them. We out of control. We like out of control. We just, like that's norm. That's normal now. People cursing is normal. Cursing is like a normal thing for the Muslims. They're all over the internet going crazy. Alhamdulillah. The women, the men, it's like, it's open. There's no shyness for the disobedience. When the Prophet ﷺ said, he made dua that Allah protect him from that. Huh?
The cursing these days, I deal with these kids, man.
The kids.
On the bus, it's like water coming up. They won't stop for nothing.
Kids.
They threaten, you can tell their mom, 6-year-olds, 5-year-olds. It's like, it wasn't like that now.
It wasn't.
But now it's like it's like regular speech. And you try to stop them. Like, who are you?
Who are you anyway?
Who are you?
Allah understand. That's how evil it is. The Prophet ﷺ made dua as the Messenger ﷺ. He made dua that Allah protect them from that. Let alone our kids. And our kids only pick up what we used to do. They learn. They learn the stuff in the house. Number one. Learning in the house. They learn the music. They learn from the TV. They learn it. It's a learning. Stuff is learning utensils. TV is a learning utensil. Allah protect us all. So the Prophet ﷺ, number one, he made dua that Allah protect them from munkarat al-akhlaq, whether those are statements or actions. He says, statements. Where it says akhlaq, he says that means aqwal, statements. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, wal a'mal, evil actions, kashirk, like shirk, or wal ma'asi, disobedience to Allah Jalla wa Ala. He made dua that Allah protect him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, from disobeying Allah Jalla wa Ala. So how about us? How about us that we need to make dua? Dua. This is a dua that the Prophet ﷺ made. We need to make dua when we're in sajda. Huh? That Allah protects us from disobeying Him, from being disobedient. Then he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the third thing. So first he said, from evil statements, from evil actions, wal ahwa, the desires, or shahwat. They ask Allah to protect them from the shahwat, that the nafs, those desires that we have that may be to disobey Allah. Everybody comes from something different. So that desire might come to a person to be disobedient for whatever they used to do, that we have to, number one, make dua that Allah protects us from going back to that. Ba'idni, keep me far away from that, because the desire could lead a person to disobedience. And I think it's almost time to pray, so we won't go too long. I think that was the exam.
23.
23.
I think it's 23. Yeah.
The third thing he's asked Allah to protect him from his desires, shahwat, to keep him away from disobeying Allah and following his own desires. Allahumma Allah protect us and protect our families. And fourthly, he said, min munkarat al-adwa, that he protects us from diseases, whatever those diseases are, which shows that we should be making dua for health. Nothing wrong with being healthy. It's excellent. That the Prophet ﷺ would make dua to be protected from diseases, different sicknesses, to seek Allah's protection from different sicknesses. For Rasulullah ﷺ yas'alullah as-salama minha, that the Prophet ﷺ would ask for Allah's protection from that, from those sicknesses, and those are the four things that the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith asked Allah to protect him from: evil speech, evil actions, his desires, and sicknesses of the body. We ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to make his people implement the guidance of Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam about how to be in Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi. Questions? We'll continue next week, inshallah.